everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started at 7 o'clock, and I'm excited. We have some people on today, and I'm excited to share some information with you. I know, like all of you, I've been spending a lot of time looking at the news. I've been on a lot of webinars just like this myself, and I'm anxious to share some information with you that's really timely. I also think it's very interesting to combine the information I'm going to share with a lot of information about dentistry, which you'll see the connection here in a little while. It'll take a minute to get to that point, but you'll see the connection on how dental health really affects your overall wellness, and how that immune system wellness, that immune system strength and overall wellness really affects your ability to fight illness. That's the key, and that's what we all want to work on right now so that we can stay healthy for forever, but especially through this difficult time that we're all facing together. So I want to first of all start out the way I always start this presentation, talking about my journey. And I had an interesting question that came in before the webinar even, that asked, why am I interested in overall wellness and combining this with dentistry when all the rest of the health world seems to be so interested in specialization? So I thought that that was an interesting question, an insightful question, and one that I will cover right now in talking a little bit about my history. So the picture on the far right, or excuse me, far left over here, is myself and my father when I got my fellowship in an organization called the Academy of General Dentistry, and he got his mastership in the same academy the same day. It was really a cool event for our family, and I was really grateful to have been able to learn from him that education is so important. So I was well entrenched in general dentistry. I was always learning more and doing more and finding out more, but I just thought that that's what I would do forever. And then I started to get sick, and I didn't really know what it was. You know, at first it was digestive issues, things that I've been actually struggling with for a while. We started to change some of the things that we did at home, some of the ways we ate, and everything's improved some, but not significantly. And then I started having two really worrisome symptoms. I had a lot of numbness in my hands, and it got to the point where I almost couldn't practice dentistry because our hands are everything in our profession, and I couldn't hold on to things anymore. And I was having so much numbness, I just had to stop and shake out my hands and things so many times during procedures. The second thing I had is I really started to have memory issues, and I've always loved my memory. You know, I can remember things. I can remember things on site. I loved that. And I could remember patients and their stories and their histories and their families. And I got to where I literally couldn't remember a patient's name from one room to the next. And I knew something major was going on. So I started looking far and wide, you know, at what might be happening and what I could do about it. So I went to every doctor I could think of. I had MRIs, I had blood tests, I had, you know, on and on and on. Anyone who's been through this chronic health journey knows that it seems endless, the things that you could do, but it's not always endless, the answers you get. And that's where I was, is everyone said, you seem fine. You're young, you're healthy, you're fine. And I thought, but I'm not fine. And I actually was looking into options for selling my practice, but I needed to have something to do still. I was in my mid-30s. I needed to have something to continue doing. And so I was looking into consulting, into some other ideas. And, I reached out to a practitioner, and he said, have you ever thought about mercury poisoning? I said, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any mercury fillings, so I don't know what you mean. And he said, no, it's not the mercury fillings you have. It's all those mercury fillings that you've been drilling out every single day without any protection. Well, the profession doesn't tell you that that could be a problem. I had no idea that that could be a problem. My father, standing next to me in this picture, had been practicing for, 20, 25 years longer than me. He'd never had any of these issues at all. So it couldn't be from dentistry. Well, I got tested. Sure enough, mercury toxicity off the charts. And as I started researching what mercury could do, I realized numbness, neurologic issues, memory issues, digestive issues, all of these things go right along with mercury poisoning. So that's what I had. And I had to either give up my profession entirely, or I had to figure out how to continue removing mercury fillings, because that's part of my job, removing those fillings, but do it in a way that I wouldn't get more mercury into my body, because you can't detox and add in at the same time. It just doesn't work. So I had to learn, I had to search and see if there was a different way. And I found out that there was a way. And there's actually some organizations that are dedicated to teaching this, how to remove mercury fillings safely. And that's where I started, was just that mercury filling piece. But as I started there, I thought, okay, this affects me. It affects all my team members that are sitting next to me and in the office with me every single day. They're breathing the same stuff in that I am. How many of them have issues that could be, traced back to mercury? It affects patients. How many people have a mouthful of old silver fillings? Those silver fillings are 50% mercury today and always. That's what they are. So I started really thinking, what else in dentistry could be dangerous to myself, to my team, to my patients, most of all? And that sent me on a journey that I really didn't anticipate ever going on. And it has been a very rewarding, very challenging journey. And I have learned things about dentistry that have completely changed the way I practice, completely changed my life and my health, and have completely changed hundreds of patients' lives and health as well because of the things that we are now doing in our office. So that's some of what we're going to share today, along with some of the COVID-19 things and how they relate to one another. So the second picture on the screen is me at the end of a very long continuum. So this continuum is the man standing next to me is named Dr. John Kois. And the Kois continuum is a 9-series continuum. Each of the class series is 3 classes. So it's three days classes. Each of those classes is about $6,500 a piece. So $6,500 times 9, plus the time away from my practice, plus my travel expenses. You can see that I invested a lot because this picture was taken on the last day of the last class, of the 9th class. And I had an interesting experience that last day of that 9th class. So I told you the intro to it because I wanted you to understand the dentists sitting in that room with me had made a significant investment in their education, financial investment, time investment, all those kinds of things, and were highly educated, really probably in the top 1% of dentistry, because most dentists don't invest that much into their education. So I was sitting at the lunch table, and one of the people sitting at the table said, "Oh my word, there's this crazy dentist in my building, and he wears this hazmat suit to take out mercury fillings. Can you believe he's so crazy?" And everyone else at the table started to laugh. And I sat there and I thought, do I say something? Do I not say something? Do I say something? But I always have to say something. So I said something and I said, you know what? Can I share with you my story? And so I shared my story with them, exactly what I just shared with you. And they were all very apologetic and said, no, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. And I said, you know what? I just shared my story simply because some of you may be having the exact same issues that I am. And I want you to know this is something that's not very well known in the industry. So I shared that with you because I want you to realize that it isn't known in the industry. A lot of the things I'm going to teach you and tell you are not well known in dentistry, especially outside of dentistry, but even in dentistry. So dentists that don't practice this way, it's not necessarily because they intend to do anything harmful. It's just that they don't know, and the profession certainly doesn't teach it. The third and fourth pictures are pictures now of Total Care Dental and Wellness. You can see my hair looks a lot better in the last picture than it does today. This is the COVID-19 hairdo. So I'm kind of embracing it right now. So it looked much better there. All right, let's talk about COVID-19. Speaking of, let's go there right now. So why is this virus different? Why is this different from the common cold? Why is this different from the flu that everyone's talking about? Why is this different? And why do I, myself as a dentist, have to take special precautions? Why are they shutting down our country for this? Why is this happening? What is really so different about this virus? A lot of these slides that I'm showing you are actually from a webinar that I was on, learning from a Harvard educated MD, PhD. So he was an interesting gentleman, and he's Chinese by descent, by ethnicity, but he's American educated and extremely smart. I loved his presentation because it wasn't biased in any way. He wasn't selling us anything. He was just trying to share some information with us. And what I found was information that I really hadn't been hearing from the media, because there's always some bias, pulling it this way, or trying to convince us of something else other than what they're just teaching us about. So that's where a lot of this information comes from. So he shared a study that was barely published last week that found that 634 who tested positive aboard that poor Diamond Princess cruise ship, of those 634, 328 of them showed no symptoms. Now, why is that concerning? That's concerning because 328 of those people could have been just wandering around amongst all of us all the time, infecting us, and they would have had no idea, and we would have had no idea, because a lot of this is asymptomatic. So that's something that's a little different, because typically the common cold, the typical flu that we get, people get symptoms. They get sick. They don't get deathly sick oftentimes, but they get sick. And so, don't go out in public. Don't share. I don't want to share this with you because it's not that fun. Half the people aren't getting sick at all. So it's really easy to transmit and not have any idea. That's one of the reasons why it's more dangerous. Another reason that it's more dangerous is because nearly 81% of the cases confirmed in China were actually mild. And then, like I said, 1.2% were actually completely asymptomatic. So 82% of people either had just very mild symptoms or were completely asymptomatic. He told about really the first woman that spread this outside of China. She came to a business convention in Germany, Belgium, Germany, one of those places, somewhere around there. Anyway, she was asymptomatic, she claimed at that time, and then she went back to China. What they did find is that she had been taking Tylenol because she felt a little achy. But how many of us just feel a little achy on occasion and never think, oh, this could be a deadly virus? Of course, that's just kind of normal part of life. Last night I had a little bit of a sore throat. I'm like, oh, sore throat, so I layered on a lot of the things I'm going to teach you about today. And by today it's gone. So we wouldn't necessarily consider ourselves, remove ourselves from the general population because of something little like that. And she didn't. She felt fine. She was flying to a business meeting. It wasn't a big deal. It was long before the COVID outbreak was even known. And she was the initiator for a lot of what happened in Europe, interestingly enough. So it was very mild. So that's another reason why it's a little concerning. This was her story. So it was Germany. She visited Germany, she flew back to China, then she started having some symptoms. But this just showed she attended the business meetings here. Patient 1 attended some business meetings as well. Patient 2 attended some business meetings as well, but they didn't show symptoms until 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days later. So again, they were just in the normal population, without any symptoms. Then patient 3 came from this one. Patient 4 came from this one. You can see the number of people that they have been infected. So it's exponential. It just keeps growing. What China found is that the virus is highly contagious, and it is spread extremely rapidly from a single city. They, thought it started in Wuhan to the entire country within 30 days. Now listen to this though. Within 30 days, despite a lockdown of 60 million people, despite isolating suspected patients, despite a quarantine of the entire city, limitation of travel, cancellation of gatherings and festivities. This was in the middle of Chinese New Year. That is their biggest festivity, and they canceled the entire thing. So it spread rapidly despite all of these things. So that tells us it's very contagious and it's very transmissible. Sorry, the weird picture here is the gentleman that was doing the webinar I watched. So the velocity of the virus, this is an interesting piece here. MERS was a similar virus. It's also a coronavirus. Coronavirus is simply the kind of virus it is. It has a little projection on the outside of the virus, and they say it looks a little bit like a crown. So that's why they call it that, coronavirus. So MERS was one that was similar to it. It was a few years ago. And it took 2.5 years, or would have taken, I don't believe it went that long, would have taken 2.5 years for 1,000 people to be infected. SARS, most of you know about that one. You've heard of that one. That one's been around more recently. It took 130 days for 1,000 people to be infected. The new coronavirus took 48 days for 1,000 people to be infected. And we've seen how things have just climbed exponentially. Again, this is a reason why it's different and why we need to talk about this. It's very, very highly transmissible and contagious. The good news is that the fatality rate is quite low. So for that MERS virus, for every 50 people, 17 people died. SARS 5 died out of the 50. For the new coronavirus, 1 dies out of 50. Now, if you're that 1, you certainly aren't very happy. But these other 49, they're doing okay. So that's the good news about it. The problem is the odds don't stack up in our favor, because let's look at this. So MERS, the sum total of people that were infected were 2,500 people. SARS, 8,000 people. Coronavirus, 373. This was a week. This was actually updated March 19th. So I think that that has grown. I didn't even check it. I should have checked it today, but that's much higher now today. And I've heard that today the US surpassed the rest of the world as far as the number of cases, just what we wanted to surpass everyone in. So because there's so many more cases, we're going to see more deaths just because of the odds of this, because so many more people will get the virus, more people will die. Whereas SARS and MERS, they had a higher death rate with them, but so few people got them that it wasn't that impactful. I mean, of course it was impactful, but it wasn't like what we're experiencing now. This is why it's different. And all 44,000, nearly 45,000 people, 80%, like I said, the infection were classified as mild. That's good news. 80% of people who get this will be mild. 13% will be severe, and 4% critical, 2.3% mortality. That's what they found in China. Whether that will be replicated in other countries, we'll see. But this is what we're looking at right now. The virus has been isolated from throat, the nose, blood, saliva, feces, droplets, potentially even the air. They're starting to find that air is not a major form of transmission, but all of these other things are. And if somebody coughs, sneezes, anything, now it's in the air, it's on the whatever surface they touched, it's everywhere. So it's we're finding that it's very transmissible. How is that transmitted? Primarily from symptomatic patients, so that's good news. A lot of those asymptomatic patients aren't spreading a lot, but there's still potential for them too. Mostly respiratory through droplets, contaminated surfaces, fecal-oral route is a big one. Little evidence of aerosol virus. Like I said, that's the air. Little evidence of that, which is good news. But this is why we all need to do our part. So we all have seen those graphs that show that the 80 and older group is the highly susceptible group, or the at-risk group for mortality from this, which this shows the fatality rate is much higher. However, the good thing about them is they're all staying in their homes. My mother and father-in-law are in their 80s. They haven't left their home. People don't come to them. They don't leave their home. So the chance of them getting infected is much lower than all the rest of us here in the middle. We're still moving around. We're still going to stores. We're still seeing each other. We're still doing things that could potentially be contagious, that would allow us to have that disease, to get that disease. That's where we need to do our part, is as long as these middle people still are out and about, vitality rate is low for us. That's a good thing. But a lot of us are going to get sick if we don't stop, if we don't stay in our homes, if we don't quit interacting with people. And I think that's a little bit of a fallacy, that we feel like, oh, we're not in that high risk group. Well, we're in the group that can transmit it to others, though. And that group then will perpetuate it, and people will die because of that. So that's why we need to be careful, and that's how we can do our part. This is the onset of the virus. Basically from 0 to 7 days or so is when, in these severe cases, it's going quite quickly. From 0 to 10 days intensive care. So it's quite a quick onset if you're going to have those severe symptoms. So the majority of people are going to have some of those not so severe symptoms: sore throat, dry cough, shortness of breath. It then will progress to pneumonia, may progress to pneumonia, pulmonary damage. That's what the virus is actually doing, is in the lungs itself. It's damaging the lung tissue itself, which leads to this acute respiratory distress syndrome, because when the lung tissue is destroyed, our body's immune system kicks into gear and says, I got to go fix this. So it sends all their immune mediators, which causes a lot of swelling and other things in the lungs, and all of a sudden we can't breathe. So a lot of times it's the immune system that kicks into gear, but it's the virus that causes that. Then that acute respiratory distress syndrome, same thing. This is respiratory syndrome. Basically, you can't breathe very well. GI bleed. This is good news. Let's skip past that fast. So that's what it progresses to. That's what we want to avoid. And the way to do that is by just staying inside. Why do we have to be closed for this long? This was something I used for actually a presentation for my team. Forgot to change that headline. Basically, why does the world need to be closed this long? Why does our economy in our cities need to be closed this long? This is an interesting slide, isn't it? I want you to look at this closely. So let's say you went somewhere to a dental office perhaps, and they had you sign a paper saying, yes, I understand that you're treating me during COVID-19 time. We're doing this right now. And they use a pen and write on that piece of paper. And look at this, that paper potentially have coronavirus on it for 4 to 5 days. The plastic pen, 5 days. So when you think, oh, I'm being safe, I'm going to the store, I'm doing this, I'm being safe. Are you being safe for 5 days? You know, are you being that safe? Because we are so not used to it. We don't know how to live this kind of life. I just joked with my husband today. I haven't actually been out of the house since Friday. So it's been a week. It'll be a week tomorrow. And I'm not stir crazy yet. I think it's just because I've had a lot to do still. So that's okay. But it really is probably what we all need to be doing more of if possible. Good news about coronavirus. These products will kill the COVID-19 according to the EPA. Look at those. Those are all the things you can't find in the store right now, but hopefully they're all the things that you have underneath your cupboard already. This coronavirus is very susceptible to Clorox, to hydrogen peroxide, and to alcohol. All three of those things will kill this virus on contact. It's actually pretty wimpy that way. So that's good news. You know, you've all heard about flattening the curve now. Everybody's talking about flattening the curve. But what it really means is that if we're all out and about and infecting each other, we're going to have a huge spike really fast. And the problem is it's going to overwhelm our health system. They've seen that in the European countries that have had it. They've seen it in China. They built 2 huge new hospitals in 10 days. I mean, that's just crazy that they were able to do that. Now they're empty because all the patients have gone home that were fine. We don't have the capacity to handle this. We don't have the capacity. So we'll be home. We'll be, getting sick at home. We won't have the ability to get an ICU, to get a respirator, those kinds of things. I know you're hearing on the news. This is the reality of it. So if we stay home, we hope that we can keep that curve. It'll stretch it out, meaning we're going to have to stay home a little longer, but it will hopefully keep it below that healthcare capacity. That's what that simply means. Now, this was interesting. We have a little bit of a precedent for this. So there were 200,000 people who took to the streets of Philadelphia. And I actually don't know why they did. It looks like they were having some sort of a military parade. I'm just looking at this in 1918. And that's when that 1918 flu epidemic really took hold, because that spread like wildfire amongst this crowd. Now, this was interesting. A different story happened in St. Louis, just 900 miles away. Within 2 days of detecting the first case among civilians, everything closed down. Schools, playgrounds, libraries, courtrooms, churches, everything. Work shifts were staggered, everything closed down. Look at the difference in the curve. This is what scientists are using right now. They're using the Philadelphia curve when we all hung out together at a parade, and they use the St. Louis curve, which people stayed home. People stayed home. You've seen this again. We don't need to go over this again, but basically with measures, with the things that I'm going to teach you to do as well, we're going to be able to hopefully keep us below that healthcare burden. So what can you do about it? Let's get to this part, because this is the part that you really want to know. What can you do about it? This is a sheet I prepared actually for a patient of mine that's running for governor. And he wanted something simple that he could share with voters, or just people in the state. He wanted to be able to share it. So he said, I need just some simple strategies. So I thought, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. So I came up with the 4 simple strategies that could help most to prevent getting infected with this virus, or prevent you having anything but just mild symptoms. So the first thing is the very top of the screen, and nobody likes it, especially right now. Sugar lowers your immunity. It's just the way it is. The immune system is complex. Sugar reduces the body's ability to fight infection, sometimes for up to 2 weeks. That's super depressing, because right now, I swear, every meal, it's like I need some sugar after it. I need a little bit of pick-me-up. I need a little bit of something. Just be smart about it. Don't do refined sugar for sure. Get a date, get a little bit of honey, get something like that if you need a little bit of a pick-me-up. But stay away from sugar as much as possible. It really doesn't lower your immunity. Better sleep equals better health. Well, you know what's good news right now? We're all able to get a little more sleep. Isn't that amazing? I'm getting like 7-8 hours of sleep. This is incredible. It won't prevent you from getting sick, but too little will prevent your immune system from being able to battle the way it needs to. So give your body the ability to take care of itself. Vitamin C and vitamin D, we're going to talk about those in a minute, but vitamin C has antiviral activity, literally does. It's an antioxidant. What the virus does is it goes in and it oxidizes cells, or it destroys cells. And so the antioxidant comes in and cleans up all the damage that it created. So what you should be doing is adults, you should be taking 1,000 milligrams a day, at least for prevention of vitamin C. Children, 250 to 500, depending on their size. Or you can get high dose vitamin C therapy, vitamin C IV therapy. It's going to be a lot harder to find now because all of the health practitioners have closed their doors to all but emergency services. That was ordered by the state of Utah. So probably not going to be able to find a lot of those right now. So you're going to have to dose up on your own. So 1,000 milligrams per day. You can still buy this. You can still get this on Amazon. You can still get this a lot of different places. Vitamin C is your number one protector. My husband was just saying, what should I take tonight? And every morning we lay out all of our little pill cups and I put everybody's pills and other things. And it's stuff I'm going to talk to you about today. So 1,000 milligrams. Now, how much is too much vitamin C? Your body's going to tell you actually how much is too much vitamin C, because you're going to have really loose bowels. So as soon as you hit diarrhea, it means, oh, you're taking too much, back it up just a little bit. So your body will tell you for sure. Vitamin D, it helps improve your overall health. Helps to fight against disease. A lot of people are calling vitamin D a hormone, and it is something that we absolutely need. So right now it snowed this morning in Utah. We're not going to get a lot from sunshine, but when we do get it from sunshine, go sit outside, particularly around 1 p.m. That's when you're going to be able to get the most of the kind of rays that you need to really create that vitamin D. So we actually have a little bit of an opportunity to do this right now. Spend some time in the sun or supplement. Adults, 4,000 IU per day, and children, 1,000 IU per day. So flu prevention, everybody's talking about washing their hands. Why are they talking about washing their hands? Well, let me explain a little bit about how a virus is made. The way a virus works, there's a picture here, is around the outside. These are binding proteins, but these little black dudes, actually, I don't think they're the black ones. I think they're the little blue ones. Anyway, the outside of a virus, the skin of the virus, let's say, is made of lipids. Lipids are fats. Why do you use soap when you're washing a real greasy pan? You use it because that soap is going to actually break up the oil, right? It'll break up the oil. That, along with some hot water, you're going to be able to wash that pan and get all the grease off. If you just use cold water, it's not going to work, is it? The soap is necessary to break up that fatty layer. Same thing happens with a virus. If you wash your hands with warm water and soap, guess what you're doing? The exact same thing that you're doing to that fat layer on a pan. You're breaking it up. You're breaking apart those viruses, and all their guts spill out and they're all dead. So hand washing, as simple as it sounds, is the very number one thing you can do. And it's not just washing your hands, but it's washing your hands with soap, thoroughly with soap. It will break apart viruses and kill them. That's wonderful. So that's the main thing you can do. Be aware of those around as well. My husband has been out. He said it's a little weird walking in stores right now, because you walk around and you look and you see a person, they kind of, you startle and pull away. And I said, do the other people do it too? And he said, oh yeah, we're all doing it. So we know that's important. Stay away, be aware of who you're around right now, and then strengthen your immune system. So nothing can heal us. Our immune system has to mount a defense and has to kill whatever it is that's initiating that problem. So our job is to give our immune system the armor it needs and the ammunition it needs. So that's what we're going to talk about. What is that armor and ammunition? Well, vitamin C, we already talked about that. That reduces damage, that inflammatory damage. Vitamin C is amazing for that antioxidant activity. Use as much as your body will allow you to take. Vitamin D, that helps the immune system. It helps everything get a little stronger so that you can fight. Magnesium is a coenzyme in a lot of factors that are necessary in our body for our immune system to work well. So magnesium is also really good for stress, for muscle stress. Magnesium is a great thing to add. There's a lot of different versions of magnesium, and everybody debates on which is best. I'm going to let you pick. Right now I'm using magnesium citrate, which is a very inexpensive version of it. As long as you get some magnesium in, I think that's the key. You need to make sure that your liver is very healthy, because the liver is your natural filter in essence. It's going to help detox and clean everything out. If your liver is not working very well, if it's all gummed up, it's going to have a real hard time filtering out some of these inflammatory and disease processes, and they're just going to get stuck, and then you're going to get sick. So what can you do for your liver? There's a lot of liver cleanses out there on the internet. Check them out. But I just like a really simple liver cleanse tea. Again, you can find pre-made mixes, or you can make your own, whichever you like. Go on Amazon, look for liver tea, and you're going to be able to find a liver blend that's great. It helps you detox. I would just do that on a regular basis right now. Let's just get our liver strong so it can help us. Then eating is imperative, and eating well right now is imperative. Isn't that an interesting little side note though? from what we're going through is we've been eating amazing around here because I'm home. I'm home to cook. We're cooking 3 meals a day. I mean, we're actually getting meals. You know, a lot of times in our busy life before, we'd be running out the door, grab this, grab that. It wasn't real food. So we're really focusing as, you know, I think we'll probably have limited time left to just hit up the grocery store anytime we want. So we're doing it not very often, but when we go, we're loading up on vegetables and fruits. That's the thing that we are really loading up on, things that can last for a while, things like sweet potatoes, you know, they're going to last a while, garlic, lemons, cabbages. They'll last a long time in your fridge. Carrots, get a big bag of them. They'll last a long time in the fridge. Some things are soft and they're going to go bad quickly, but load up on the things that might last, because those, you know, we're made of what we eat. You've heard that saying that says you are what you eat. Well, it's literally true, because every single cell in our body actually is remade at a certain frequency. Some cells are very, very quickly remade within days. Some cells it takes up to like 6 months to remake them. But pretty much every 6 months we have a completely new us. Every single thing is new. Well, what does it use to build those cells? What does your body use? All it has to use is what you feed it. It's not going to pull things from the air. It's only going to use what you feed it to build those cells. So when you say you are what you eat, that's very literal, because you are made out of the food that you fed your body. You have to feed it good food right now, or your immune cells even aren't going to be very strong. They're going to be little wimpy guys because you fed them nasty things. If you eat polyunsaturated fats, they literally coat every single cell in your body in like saran wrap. So nothing works well. Nothing passes information back and forth. They don't go in and out of membrane. Nothing works very well. So healthy fats are so crucial right now. What are healthy fats? You can do grass-fed butter. My favorite is Kerrygold, and I'm so mad they put a limit on it at the store. So I send my husband every couple of days to say, go get me another box of that, because we need it. The reason I like Kerrygold is because when it's butter made from grass-fed cows, they actually have that milk that made the butter has vitamin K in it. Vitamin K is a really important co-vitamin along with vitamin D in order to help it be absorbable. So we need that vitamin K. So butter is amazing. Olive oil, very, very good. But remember, when you're using olive oil, don't heat it. It's not a high heat cooking oil. It is for dressing. It is for using on top of things. It's for using finishing at the end of cooking time, that sort of thing. Don't heat it up to high temperature, so you'll actually turn those molecules rancid. So you don't want that, because rancid molecules of oil don't work the same in your body, and you're built out of rancid oil instead of good oil. You don't want that. Remember, every cell in our body is surrounded by fats. Our entire brain is surrounded by cholesterol and fats. We need these things. We absolutely need these things. So people say, stop eating all fat and cholesterol. Well, fine, if you want your brain to die. That's what it's made out of. Your body needs these things. Just eat the right ones. Other good fats, coconut oil. I love sesame oil. Stay away from soy oil, corn oil, canola oil. Those are all really highly processed oils that your body doesn't recognize. It doesn't even know what they are. It just hangs out in places you don't want it to hang out, coats your cells in saran wrap, and nothing works really quite well. Lean meats. So right now we're going kind of meat lean, just meaning we're not eating a lot of meat because we don't have a lot of meat stored. We have enough, but we don't have a ton. So we're just going a little bit lean on that, and it's fine because we're eating tons of vegetables and fruits right now. But keep those meats lean if you can. Lots and lots of plants. And, you know, it's going to get harder and harder the longer that we are in a stay-at-home order. But the more color you can add, the better. And when you do get to the store, stock up on the color. Lots of reds and greens and purples and yellows and everything colorful, because those things are full of natural antioxidants. Remember, those antioxidants are the things that fight inflammation. Inflammation is the thing that takes us down. The virus hits a cell, causes inflammation. Our body's immune mediators come there. They swell things up. They add fluid. They do all these things, and that's what makes us sick and die. So we want to slow down inflammation. We want to have a lot of antioxidants on board so that that immune system response isn't the thing that takes us out. Homeopathic remedies, these are great as well. So there's one called Influenzinum that's really good. There's a few other homeopathics that I've been stocking up on as well. You can look these up because I'm just forgetting. I think it's called Gelsemium is one that's very good, as well as Bryonia. I think is how you say it. I'm probably slaughtering that, but I think that's how you say it as well. Those are great homeopathics to have. I didn't put the slide in here. I should have. I went to a conference, the last conference probably that most people went to, just at the very end of, actually, it was the very beginning of March. And I heard from, it was an interesting man. He was a lawyer that litigated for medical rights. So my husband likes to be in the webinar here, it looks like. um, so this lawyer had a lot of information talking about the effectiveness of different treatments, and I learned a lot from him. And he talked about during that 1918 flu epidemic, what was most successful. And they found that people who were treating with allopathic medicine, meaning the traditional medicines, and they didn't even have nearly as many as we have now. We're going to actually talk in just a minute about some of the possibilities and why to probably not use them. When they were treated with allopathic medicine, they actually had about a 40% incidence of death. When they were treated with the homeopathic medicine, they had about a 2% incidence of death. So it was much more successful when using homeopathy. If you don't know about homeopathy, this is too short of a presentation to talk to you about it. Go learn some things. It's really interesting. It is very, very effective when used right. All right, let's talk about some potential treatment and problems. So I learned about this, that you've probably heard on the news that there's something called chloroquine. Chloroquine has been used, or a version of it, just trying to remember, it's not hydroxychloroquine, it's a different one. Anyway, it's an antibiotics called Levaquin. There's a few different antibiotics that have been using this similar, a version of the same compound. Chloroquine has been tested to see if it's been effective on this, but they found that chloroquine alone had very little activity. Hydrochloroquine or hydroxychloroquine actually had a moderate activity, but just by happenstance, there were some people who were already taking azithromycin or Zithromax. It's a medicine that's been commonly used for herpes viruses, both oral and other herpes viruses. And so some people were already taking the azithromycin, and they found that those people that happened to be taking that along with the hydroxychloroquine had a very pronounced response to the medication. Here's my concern. I actually have an aunt who was literally disabled because of using Levaquin. I have a lot of concerns about these drugs. They're anti-malarial drugs, and they just simply have not gone through the testing that we need to know the efficacy and the safety of them. So if you are in dire straits, dire circumstances, and you're in the hospital and you're critically ill, or if this is a family member, then perhaps that's a choice you make. But my idea of treatment is that we don't have to get to that point of making that decision. So let's talk about that. What are some things? Now, you're going to recognize some of these things because they're the same things that are on the prevention list. Vitamin C, double your prevention dose. Vitamin D, double your prevention dose. So this is, I've started to get some symptoms. What do I do? Heavy, heavy, heavy. So last night, like I said, what I did is I tripled my vitamin D, and I have a vitamin C tincture that I'm about the only one in the family that can choke it down. I guzzled like a cup of that. Today I felt the effect of it a little bit on my GI system, but I wanted to really kill whatever was going on. And I also have what's called an infection fighter. It's an herbal remedy, and I'll talk to you about some sources for some of these things. But I just knocked it down last night and this morning. By noon, it was gone. So there are ways to help your immune system fight whatever it is that's going on. And hopefully that was not COVID-19. Hopefully it was just some random thing that just happened to hit me at the same time. If not, I've been in my house for a week, so it's okay. L-lysine, it's an antiviral amino acid that's great to use. Again, these things are preventive. They're preventive as well as treatment. Lomatium is how you pronounce that. That's an herb. Lomatium has a little bit of a funny side effect. It's not even really a side effect. Sometimes it will cause a rash just at the beginning while you start to use it, and then it will go away, but it'll be quite itchy. My husband actually had this. He's been using a remedy that has some lomatium in it, and he did get a little bit of a rash, but it was like for a day and a half, and then it was gone. But it's shown to be very good antiviral. Homeopathic, again, that same influenzainum. Typo right there. The thieves blend oil, massage on your feet, massage on your ears, bottom. You can put it on the back. You can put whatever. It just helps to get into your body. It has some really good antimicrobial activity. And then there's some antiviral herb and homeopathic remedies that you can purchase. So there's a couple of Sources I've put on here, healthypreparedness.myshopify.com. She has a really good, actually, she has antiviral, herbal and homeopathic remedies. And then karensholistichealth.com has a really good homeopathic version as well. And the cool thing about homeopathy is that a little does a lot. So literally these ones from Karen's Holistic Health, you take a drop a day, maybe 2 drops a day. And so for not very much money, you can get a huge effect. So I really encourage you to look into some of these things. Okay, now why in the world, we haven't gotten back to this yet. Why in the world is a dentist talking about all this stuff? So first of all, I really want you to know why your immune system needs to be strong to fight against this virus. Now, I highly suspect, and I could be completely off, and hopefully I am, I highly suspect that this is not going to be the last virus, or not going to be the last situation like this that we see in our lifetime. I think this may be something that we continue seeing a couple more times. So what do we do to build our immune system so that when something like this comes along, we're going to be resistant? You know, this is where I do come in, because what I found is that those symptoms that you feel, they're just stress signals that your body is sending out saying, something's not right here. There are things that are wrong, and I'm not functioning like I should. I need some help to be stronger. So you really need to find out not the symptom. That's not what we're attempting to treat. The symptom is the warning sign. You're attempting to find out, what is your body warning against? What is that why behind your problem? So this is why dentistry comes in. This book was written, I think it was 2017. This book was written by a man who's an MD, so he's a doctor and he's a lawyer, which I think is an interesting combination, because he's not going to say anything that he can't legally back up, because he knows you don't do that when you're a lawyer. This is his quote at the top: "Nothing else comes close to having as large of a negative health impact as undiagnosed dental infections." This is coming from an MD. He's not a dentist. He has no reason to be saying these things unless they're true, and I 100% believe they're true. He proposes that this is why chronic degenerative disease, especially heart disease and cancer, doesn't resolve definitively. You know, you get a little better, kind of like I did. You know, we got a little better, but I didn't get a lot better until I found out the real root of the cause. He believes that undiagnosed dental infections are the reason that a lot of us just kind of keep hanging on with a little bit of resolution of symptoms, but not a lot. I agree with him, because I see this on a daily basis now in my practice. Wrong direction. So how do dental infections impact health? Why is there a correlation here between immune system strength and dental health? Statistically speaking, there's very few people with one or more chronic diseases that is completely free of oral infection, because there's a lot of places that you could have oral infection. You could have gum disease, you could have an infected root canal, you could have infection where you had a tooth removed, primarily where a wisdom tooth came out. So there's a lot of potential for infection in the mouth. Now, these are some sobering statistics. When people that had heart attacks that were fatal, so this was a study that was done, I believe, 3 years ago, in people that had a fatal heart attack, they actually took and biopsied the clot that killed them. They wanted to see what was in that clot that actually obstructed the heart enough to cause a fatal heart attack. What they found was that 78% of those people had oral specific bugs in that fatal clot, meaning this contributed to the heart attack at least 78% of the time, maybe even caused it. One or more root canals has an increased risk for heart disease. Cancer, you have a 2.5 times increased risk if you have a root canal tooth. There's lymphatic and vascular drainage. So every time you chew, you squeeze infection all the way throughout the entire system. It hangs out in lymph nodes, and it causes a lot of issues, sometimes cancer. I was just at, again, that same conference at the beginning of March. There was a woman there, very interesting dental researcher. She's a dentist, but she's been researching her entire career. She was most definitely a pioneer in all of this. And she said when she was very first learning about some of these things, her instructor said, "I will pay you $100 if you can ever show me a patient that has cancer that doesn't have a root canal, a cavitation," we'll show you what those are in a minute, "or a dead tooth." And she said, "Got it. I'm sure I'm going to be able to find one." She said she went years. She finally found someone who'd had cancer And she looked in her mouth. She had all 32 teeth. So she had no reason for these cavitations where teeth come out. She had no root canals because she looked at her. She said, "Where's your root canal?" And she said, "I've never had a root canal." So she checked every tooth. She said, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to get my $100 now." And then as she did her exam, she noticed that this tooth right here is dark. And she said, "Oh, tell me what happened to that tooth right there." She said, "Oh, that tooth. That one was sitting sideways up in the roof of my mouth when I was younger. And so the orthodontist pulled it down with braces and it's been dark ever since." That tooth is dead. And guess what? That tooth is sitting right on the what we call shared energy line with the breasts. And that's exactly where she had her cancer. So she didn't get her $100. And she told all of us in the audience, she said, "I'll pay you $1,000 if you show me anyone who's had cancer or has cancer that doesn't have a root canal, a cavitation, or a dead tooth somewhere." That's a pretty bold statement. And she said, none of you are going to find it. So research has shown that dental disease contributes or is related to heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, and you could read this list. There's a whole list of things that dental disease contributes to. So you can't be your healthiest. You can't be your best to fight these infections, to fight off these things if you have this sort of thing happening in your mouth. You simply cannot. I think I went the wrong direction, so let me just check. Nope, went the right direction. Okay, root canals, let's talk about them for a minute. Over 95% of root canals harbor infection. How? Why? Why is that the case? And why do they not hurt? So many people tell me all the time, "Well, they don't hurt." I don't know what you're talking about. A root canal is kind of an interesting procedure. The way it works is if the tooth has decayed enough or broken enough that it's impacted the nerve, which is the central portion of the tooth, then that nerve itself will get infected and will die. Sometimes it hasn't died yet, which is why you have a massive toothache, or sometimes it has died, which is why you have a swollen face. So either way, the nerve is impacted irreversibly. So that nerve is removed, that inside of the tooth is cleaned out, and then a filling material is placed inside. It's called gutta percha. It's kind of a rubbery type material. And the idea behind it is fabulous. I mean, it's a way to save a lot of teeth. The problem is that that's not the whole story. There's not just one nerve inside of the root, inside of each root. There's literally 3 miles of little tiny baby feeder tubes, feeder channels that feed the tooth, feed nutrients to the tooth from that main nerve out through all the tooth structure, out to the ligaments on the outside. That's how they're all fed and stay healthy. Well, those feeder tubes, it's impossible to clean all of those feeder tubes. So bacteria, as well as just dead nerve tissue, stay inside of those tubes. We seal it all up with this filling material, close it all over, but that bacteria and that dead tissue still attract other bacteria and other friends, and you get a new infection around that tooth. Why doesn't it hurt? Because the nerve's gone. You've lost your early warning system. So the nerve's gone, it doesn't hurt anymore, and now you have infection in the jawbone, in the bone surrounding the tooth, that every time you bite, you're squeezing it throughout the rest of the system, and you have no idea it's there. Unless it gets really large and you do start to get symptoms because the bone is gone, because it's destroyed bone. I'll show you some pictures in a minute about this. This is really interesting. So if 95% of root canals harbor infection and 35% of the population has at least one root canal, and this is true, there's 20 million, this is actually a wrong statistic. There are 25 million root canals performed in the US per year. So that means 35% of the population has an asymptomatic dental infection, namely a failed root canal, or a root canal that has residual infection at the end of it. Is that you? Have you ever had a root canal? If so, 95% chance that you have something going on there. The cool part about this is literally a modern plague. Well, this is not true. I wrote this slide a year ago. It's a modern plague worse than any pandemic ever seen. It might be true because this affects 35% of the population, where the virus that we're seeing now is only affecting maybe 2%. So this is affecting 35%. We have the ability to reverse disease by treating this. This is very cool. Cavitations. What are cavitations? Cavitations are extraction sites, or places where a tooth was removed where the bone didn't heal properly. And when bone doesn't heal properly, what happens is it becomes a sinkhole of like gum tissue and those sorts of things rather than bone, and bacteria infiltrate in there, and it becomes this sinkhole, this toxic sinkhole of nastiness. And the body doesn't have, there's not a lot of blood flow in there. The bone's all dead around the outside, and it doesn't have a lot of ability to heal itself. Think about it. The large majority of teenagers and young adults get their wisdom teeth out. So most of us have had 4 teeth removed. Even though we don't think we've had a tooth removed, we've had wisdom teeth removed. And 88% of extraction sites have some form of cavitation, some form of where they actually didn't heal properly. If there was a dry socket, 100% of the time you had a cavitation. It's particularly, so these infections are particularly related to inflammation. So if you have some sort of inflammatory chronic disease symptom or problem, you may have these sorts of infections. So this is the picture I promised you. I want to show you. I've never tried this before. I'm going to try this and see if I can draw. Nope. I would have to be smarter than that. So I'm not going to try. I'll just point. This patient here, I'm going to show you right here on the front tooth. Well, actually, let me back up for a moment. Why have we not known about these? Why have we not known about the infections around root canals? Why have we not known about the infection in extraction sites? Because we couldn't see them. I'll show you an x-ray in just a minute. How literally we couldn't see them on traditional x-rays. We had no idea this was happening. So when we finally got the advances that we have, the technological advances, and we have a 3D CT machine now that we're able to take x-rays with. So this is a dental specific CAT scan, basically. It's 3-dimensional, and it has revolutionized the way we do dentistry. I mean, everybody who has a CT scan has revolutionized the way they do dentistry. In fact, it's kind of interesting. I have a couple of periodontists who now have joined our practice. And one of them, when he first started with us, he said, I can't believe how many failed root canals are in your practice. I said, no, failed root canals are in everybody's practice. They just can't see them until they get the CT scan. So I want to show you what I'm looking for. This is actually a 2-dimensional screenshot of a 3D shot, but I can show you at least a few on here. So right here at the end of this tooth, this dark circle above here is an abscess. It goes all the way around here, if you can see that. So it goes all the way around the edge. That is an abscess. That tooth is dead. Can you see another one? Blink. How about right here? Right here. Both of those front teeth have died. There's another one right here around. This is a root canal. That's what a root canal looks like. Right here around this root. Right here around this root. This tooth actually has what we call internal resorption. Can you see the difference? There's a big dark circle in the middle here. This tooth is dying from the inside out. I'm trying to remember how many she had. She had something like 7 abscess teeth. And she has fatigue. Cancer is in remission. It won't be for long, I'm afraid, because that tooth right there is on the left breast meridian, left breast shared energy channel. Overall, just very ill health. This patient at the bottom, hers are a little harder to see. Here's a big one right here off the side. This is a root canal. This is right off the side of that root canal. Huge abscess right off the side of that root canal. Very odd presentation, actually, to be off the side like that. She also had one here at the end of this root canal. It's not as easily to see in this view, but she had what we call cavitations. She actually back here had a little root left after her wisdom teeth was removed, but you can see the dark areas, and that's what I've highlighted over here is the area that the bone didn't heal. Right in here, there's just a hollow space, and here as well. Those are areas where infection lives. This is, like I said, we could not see it before these cone beam scans. This is the same patient. I know this looks a little scary, but it's not. It's just the way we look at these x-rays now. So this tooth right here had a root canal. She had some symptoms. It was a little achy, had never felt good since she got the root canal. She didn't know what it was. Kept taking these x-rays, but it looks fine. There's really nothing wrong. Like literally, if you show any dentist this x-ray right here, they would say, this looks great. That is a very successful root canal. And then we took a CT scan, and what we found right here is the same tooth, okay? That just to orient you, this is the same tooth, this is the back tooth, this is the back tooth. Look at the destruction of the bone right here. It should all look like this. It should be just solid bone all the way around. Look at this. It's destroyed all of the bone on the front side of both of these teeth. This is the same day. I just couldn't see it here. Had no idea what was going on. We could not see these things before. Now we can see them. What's in there? Well, we biopsy sometimes in these things, and what we find, cytomegalovirus, Campylobacter, entomoeba. These are amoebas. There's parasites. There's all sorts of crazy, scary things living in here. Parvovirus, look at that. Basically, all sorts of, they both have that. They have really scary things living inside of here. So can they affect your overall immune system? Can they affect your overall health? Absolutely. The last thing that I'm going to talk about when it comes to holistic dentistry, and I've skipped over a lot of prevention here today. A lot of times I talk a lot about nutrition and health, and I might be getting to that. I don't remember. Maybe I am. We'll see. But we're almost out of time. The last thing in dentistry that really can throw things off is a lot of metal. Metal, you can create a battery if you put dissimilar metals inside of a solution. So inside of a liquid, dissimilar metals, that's why you don't want to put a battery or something that has electricity going through it, like a hair dryer in the bathtub, because the solution is extremely conductive. It will conduct the electrons from the hair dryer into you and you will die. Um, that's what happens when you put metals, dissimilar metals, in a solution. Well, saliva is a solution. It's a really good solution. In fact, it conducts extremely well. So any of these mercury fillings that are 50% mercury, 50%, the other 50% is silver, copper, tin, a couple of other things. Every single one of those has multiple metals in it, just by nature of it's called an amalgam or a mixture. Every single metal crown that you have too, and it might not look metal, it might be a metal core surrounded by porcelain over top. Every single one of those metals has dissimilar metals or multiple metals in it as well. They're all alloys. So all of those things can create a battery in your body. And what does that do? So I tell people it's kind of like leaving the car on leaving the light on in your car at night. It just slowly drains your battery, slowly drains your literal electrons. It's just like leaving the light on all night long, all the time. And so you wonder why you're fatigued all the time and why you don't have as much energy as you like and all those kinds of things, because your metals are draining you constantly. So this patient, tons of metal. Look at all this metal everywhere. He had leukemia that had been in remission, but now it was coming back and they wanted to do a bone marrow transplant. His first wife had died from leukemia. This was a very sensitive thing for him. So we got all the metals out of there so that we could give him the best chance of surviving this. So prevention and treatment, both of those are absolutely necessary. Oh, we are going to get to it in the last few minutes, so I'm going to be fast on this. We may have to do a second one. I just had to cover the COVID virus issues. So there's 3 ways to prevent what we're talking about here. Dental disease. You don't want to get to the point that I'm showing, your x-ray on a screen for a presentation sometime. How do you prevent it? You can prevent it from taking care of your teeth. You have to protect this out here, this enamel, taking care of your teeth, cleaning it right, but you also have to protect it with hormones. Hormones can actually destroy your teeth. This is why teenagers, pregnant women seem to get a lot of decay, a lot of tooth decay. There's ways that we can prevent that. And in a holistic dental office, this is all that we talk about all day long, how to prevent this kind of thing. Hormones either put you in fight or flight or rest and recovery. I wish we had a little more of the rest and recovery right now. It upsets the way you digest food. That leads to tooth decay. So again, someone asked, why in the world are you so concerned about this? Because everything connects. We're all connected head to toe. If we're stressed out, our gut isn't absorbing the way it should because we're stressed, we're going to get tooth decay. It's the way it is. So we have to know so that we can help prevent some of these things. And then nutrition is an enormous one. If you've ever heard of Dr. Weston Price, he's amazing. He spent basically 10 years studying indigenous societies all over the world. He was a dentist in the 30s, a very well-renowned dentist, actually. And what he found is that there were societies that were eating in a way that made them cavity resistant. Literally, they weren't getting dental problems because of their food. What did they eat? A lot more fat-soluble vitamins. So remember when I talked about we need fats. We need fats to be healthy. One of the main reasons is because a lot of the vitamins that we need for optimum health are carried in fats. So we have to eat the fats to be able to get those essential vitamins. Some potential problems. I'm not going to have time to go through these. I apologize. We'll have to do another one of these again. But some problems with dairy, some problems with grains, some problems with eating vegan, actually. The big issue there is just that lack of fat. So how do we clean up the past? So we can prevent, we also can treat. We can treat gum disease, and we use actually a microscope to diagnose what you have to see, is this a genetic issue, is this a nutrition issue, or is this literally a bug issue? And we can see the bugs on the microscope. I'm always excited when I see the bugs, because if I see the bugs, we can clean the bugs. We use ozone. We use all sorts of really cool things. Actually, ozone is one of the very best treatments for viruses. We use ozone when we're treating gum disease, so we can treat your whole body health along with just your gum disease as well. When we remove mercury fillings, we do it in a safe way. And actually, I'm thrilled we do this because in the post-COVID dental world, I think we're going to be dressing like this for most procedures. So I'm actually really excited at Total Care Dental. What we do is we have all this get up that you're seeing right here, and we protect ourselves while we're removing things. We also have closed rooms that we do this work in with a special vacuum you can see here, and we have a special air filters on it all. And we can do that all very, very safely. Mercury filling issues, I'm going to skip past it. Basically, I can't tell you as a dentist that your mercury is making you sick, but I can tell you that it's cracking your teeth, which it is, and it's cracking your teeth every single day. Root canals. What do we do about root canals? Well, honestly, there's not a lot of solution for it right now. I'm hoping that there is in the future. Right now, what we do is we remove the tooth. We remove the tooth, we clean up the bone very thoroughly around it, and we place a ceramic implant, which that's a huge key because we don't want to introduce more metal in there if we can avoid it. We place a ceramic implant to replace the tooth. Cavitations, we go in there, we clean it out, we disinfect it. All of those things that we do, we use for everything. So we use ozone for everything. We use ozone for fillings. We use ozone when we remove teeth. We use ozone when we clean out cavitations. We just improve your overall health, every time we work on you for any reason. Can you heal things? Absolutely. Can you remineralize teeth? Absolutely. Sometimes easier than others, depending on how deep the decay is, but there's things that we can do to help you with that. Fluoride, do you need it? There's problems with fluoride, and so I don't highly recommend it. There's things we can recommend instead. Oil pulling. These are all some ideas that we can share with you and teach you about at a holistic dental office. You know, it's interesting too. Oh, this was a presentation I did before. I have two of my team members' email addresses on there. But, you know, I put on this there, what is holistic dentistry? What is biologic dentistry? I was at a course and the presenter said something interesting, and I quite liked it. He said that he doesn't like calling himself a holistic dentist because sometimes holistic things are thought of as a cult or a religion or, you know, a belief system. And it is a belief system, but we're biologic dentists. And what that means is that we treat the body biologically, meaning we understand that from head to toe, we're connected. And if we help you here, we're going to help you everywhere. And you're not going to be healthy everywhere unless you're healthy here, and vice versa. So it all goes together. So it's biologic, meaning we're very aware of your biology and the way you need to function in order to be healthy. And that's what we work on. And that's how we approach the dentistry that we do. And we have a very high-tech, forward-thinking dental office. When you come to our office, you'll see we don't have beads and incense, and, you know, we're not praying over you. We're not doing anything that you're going to come into the most technologically advanced office you've probably ever been in. Beautiful office, because we believe in having a very serene environment. We want you to be calm and chill. We help you get to that place. We have a lot of things that help also along with those things, but these are imperative. Now, I've got some bad news. We're closed. We're closed to everything but emergencies right now. But this is why you need to know these things. There are some things you can do at home. You can work hard. Make sure your kids are brushing your teeth right now. You can add minerals to your diet. Minerals, good minerals. Add as many minerals as you can right now. All that vitamin C and vitamin D that you're going to take for your immune system will help your teeth. Amazing how that works. That will help your gums. Amazing how that works. Bentonite clay is a really good treatment for local gum infection if you know you've got something going on. Clove oil is great if you have tooth issues. So these are just some things that you can do, but you can always contact us. We're still on call, available for help during this pandemic, during this shutdown time. And I hope that we get to see you all and help get your mouths clean and your body healthy after, because this isn't the only one we're going to face. We need to have healthy immune systems all the time. Now, I thought I saw a couple of questions, so let me see if I do have them here. Okay. It says, I would love a PDF of your top 4 virus prevention strategies so you can hang up at your workplace. That's still open. I'm glad you are still open. Yay. Great. You know what? Go ahead and send your email through this chat, and I will email it to you tonight. Happy to send that. Any questions? If there are, you can click on that chat, ask questions. If not, you are welcome to email me or email. I'm not even sure how to do that. Let me send you an email. Hey, good job, Steph. So you can email. I'm going to just send you an email that is my office manager, and she checks it all the time. So you can see on the bottom here, Jolene, just switch out Laura for that. So it's going to be Laura, Laura, @totalcaredental.com. Looks like I do have a question. Oh, just somebody excited to work with us. We are too. And hopefully we'll get all back to business very soon, and all of us will be back to it very soon. So thank you all for being on tonight. Most of you stuck around the whole time. I'm so glad about that. And you know what we're going to do? So I have been working on all sorts of crazy stuff. Like I should turn this over onto my bookshelves. My bookshelves are crazy. And if you were to come and look at all my bookshelves, you would think that like a schizophrenic person lived here because I have such varied interests and I've studied such varied interests. I've been teaching emergency preparedness for years. I have a YouTube channel that's actually thousands of views, tens of thousands of views on there from all around the world. So we're going to start doing this once a week. If you can get it on or not, or we're going to try to record this. We're going to live stream it, and we're just going to share some of these random bits of information that live in my head. Next week, I think we're going to focus on preparedness for disasters, which we're living in one. If you're living in Utah, we also had an earthquake last week, which was crazy on top of all of this. So we're going to talk preparedness from top to bottom, how to start. And then we're going to continue on every single week another topic that hopefully will be very topical to what we're living, because this whole series is called Living Well with Dr. Michelle. And that's what I want to help you all do, is to live well. So thank you so much for joining. Looks like I might have one more question on the top of this. Is this presentation recorded? Yes, we are recording this, and we will send that out to people so that you can share it as well. So happy to share. Thank you so much for being on here, and catch us again next week. We'll send out invites to all of that. And hopefully this content was useful, something that you can use today and in the future, and we'll continue giving you useful things that you can use literally. As soon as you click off this, you should be able to go and use what we teach you. So thanks so much, everybody, and have a great night, and stay safe and stay home. That's the last message that I have for you. Stay safe and stay home. Thank you all.